This is a frozen football field in the northwest of Germany. It might be the last place on Earth where you would look to see the future of Oceania football unfolding. But this is where Pharrel Trainor, a Samoan forward who's captained his national side, is about to take the field for Scott Mainz in the Youth Bundesliga. An Australian-born footballer applying his trade in Germany, but most importantly, of Samoan ancestry. It was in the Pacific Heat, surrounded by the ocean in all directions, where he scored 4 times against Tahiti during the Under-17 OFC Championship. Trainor is one of the hundreds of players around the globe, from the technical academies in Iberia to the collegiate system in the United States, being called to their island homes, found by data and asked to represent their nation on the international stage. As Oceania's grassroots football fields are only just stirring awake, their associations have turned to technology to take its place. All of this is happening at a time where stadiums across New Zealand have shaking foundations from fans who are watching the youngest team in world football history rip through any competitor who stands in their way. Meanwhile, the proposed OFC Professional League, the first of its kind in the Confederation, will see professional clubs compete from island to island. Oceania's footballing potential is finally bubbling to the surface through some of the most mind-boggling approaches ever seen. It's 2 Englishmen at the head of International Football Consultancy who have started to open doors for Oceania member associations, doors that were previously not even known to be a possibility. By using the Heritage Scouting system, their AI program compiles data on eligible players from around the world. They search remote locations in the hidden corners of the sporting world to bring them to the bottom of the globe. Oceania might be a hidden footballing confederation, but some of these players were unearthed in even more far-flung places, in Mexican villages or playing football in the frozen north of the United States. All of them answered the call, returning to their ancestral home to represent their nation on the international stage. More often than not, the initial phone call to notify the player is met with surprise. A lot of the time, they didn't even know they were eligible to begin with. Their work for Fiji, Samoa, and the Cook Islands has even resulted in Football Manager having to update their database of players. But more importantly, it started to take effect during matches. When Pharrel Trainor buried 4 goals past the Tahitian keeper, he was surrounded by 9 other heritage players on the field that day. And when the Cook Islands reached the semi-finals of the Under-19 Women's Championship for the first time, the squad was made up of 73% internationally scouted players. As the heritage players return to raise the quality of the domestic game for these countries, giving their island role models to look up to, they in turn are able to reunite with the lost ancestry, prayers before matches and performances on and off the pitch, beaming back around the world at international tournaments. Oceania is the frontier of world football, where the smallest changes can have the biggest impacts. Massive potential is often just a social media ad away. The call has gone out, and the players are starting to answer it. And these players are about to be thrusted further into the spotlight with Oceania football's latest project, which might just take the world by storm. Tucked along the western coast of Fiji's biggest island, you'll find Nadi, a city surrounded by pristine golden beaches in all directions, Hindu temples, orchid gardens, and King Charles Park. In 1999, it was to this stadium that South Melbourne had made the nearly 4,000-kilometer trip to face Nadi in the final of the OFC Club Championship. They won the match 5-1, hoisting the trophy into the golden sun. Little would they know that this match would go down as one of the last times an Australian team battled with their Oceanian neighbours, before their nation left the blue waves of the Pacific behind for the Asian Confederation in 2006. But fast forward to today, and this scenario could repeat itself. It's actually Frank Costello's vision for the future of the region's domestic footballing landscape, the OFC Professional League. Professional teams from across the Pacific, flying back and forth, connecting distant shores from Australia to the shimmering waves in Papua New Guinea, even reaching as far as the volcanic peaks in Hawaii. Currently, Oceania is the only footballing confederation without a professional league within its many footballing pyramids, and this proposed new division has already had 24 expressions of interest, from teams covering 9 different nations. Imagine teams flying from island to island, battling out to be the champion of the Pacific. The initial roster will only include 8 teams, with an expansive playoff format to keep the fans engaged, but the league as a whole has already caused quite a stir in the Oceanic football community, and it's easy to see why. With Australia's exit in 2006, officially they are no longer part of the Oceania Confederation, but their attendance would be a natural fit, especially teams like South Melbourne, who have been a part of the inaugural fabric of Australian football since their inception in 1959. Despite South Melbourne's struggles to break into the Australian professional footballing scene, the OFC Professional League could offer them and other heritage clubs a chance to take the Oceania footballing baton to the world stage. But this pendulum has swung in the opposite direction when we head across the Tasman Sea to New Zealand. The only 2 professional teams in the region have been successfully part of the Australian A-League, technically making them Asian football clubs. But this new league is too good of an opportunity to give up, and they want a piece of the pie. It's put them in an awkward position, stuck between 2 confederations. They've proposed submitting 2 teams, one to play in the A-League and another for the OFC Pro League, double dipping and getting the best of both worlds at the same time, something Frank Costello has indicated he's not a fan of. It seems the OFC Pro League's first challenge will be to remove itself from the Australian A-League shadow, use the influx of heritage players in combination with heritage clubs to build foundations that can last the test of time. But Oceania's footballing potential isn't just a matter of time. In fact, one of its most magical stories is already unfolding in New Zealand, a story that proves its tremendous potential as a footballing force. 25,000 fans watched on as Auckland FC's captain darted towards the Brisbane Roar goal during their first ever professional game. Sakai put in a low, hard cross which deflected in from a Brisbane boot, and thousands of football fans around New Zealand could release a collective breath of air. Only 10 minutes into their lifespan, and Auckland FC had just put to bed the demons of the city's professional footballing past. Months earlier, Bill Foley, the American businessman who had purchased the A-League license for the city, claimed to have high expectations for what the club could achieve in their first season. At the time, this was a crazy statement, when we considered their predecessors, the New Zealand Knights, were the worst performing A-League team in history, dissolved after just 3 seasons of bad results. After Auckland FC's first win against the Brisbane Roar, they went on a 6-game win streak, with the team humming with not only clever recruitment, but New Zealand talent, unearthed from their very own domestic footballing pyramid. Gillian's electric pace, and the Vries flinging in pinpoint crosses from left back. New Zealand football is no longer on life support, operating in an Australian shadow or the Oceanic easy road. It's thriving. Today, it's very much looking like Auckland FC's push for silverware is a realistic outcome for their first ever season, and they look to hang with the big guns for years to come. If they win a trophy in their first ever season, they will go down in history as the most successful new club of all time. And as Oceania's footballing world continues to pave its way forward domestically, internationally changes to World Cup qualification mean that New Caledonia will be the one fighting in an intercontinental playoff game for a World Cup ticket in 2026. And in doing so, a challenger from the Americas, Africa, or Asia will be flying to Oceania, likely for the first time, bringing with them international eyes on the footballing foundations of the Pacific, a region at the forefront of footballing history, where every year brings new developments, pushing its story forward, as the game is finally starting to crash onto its sandy shorelines. This is where Oceania's real footballing opportunity lies. A unique region requires unique approaches, and the wheels are starting to take motion. As a sporting force, there can be no doubt of their immense potential when everything is in full flight, with the world-conquering All Blacks, Fiji's ability to ride anyone at sevens, or the giant slayer Samoa in rugby league. So what do you think? Will it ever be possible for 2 Oceania contenders to make it to the World Cup? Or do you think the region's football is doomed to fail and should be folded into the Asian Footballing Confederation? Let me know in the comments below. There's so many exciting things taking place in Oceania football. I can't wait to follow these stories and create videos for them on this channel. So if you want to see more videos like this, don't forget to subscribe. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to give it a like. Have a great day and goodbye.